I got a green screen. Pretty cool, right? It's not really going to be in this video because it only arrived after the video was done. I'm just going to use it here to briefly address something. Apparently, there's some controversy with this game, which I only learned about after I finished the video. Apparently, it is very woke. And I don't care. I don't care. I'm here to talk about video games, not give a dissertation on politics. If my apathy offends you, feel free to leave a comment down below calling me either a cuck or a fascist, depending on which side of the political aisle you fall on.
Greetings gamers, my name is Kamikaze, and I have been on an RPG kick lately. You may know that if you watched my vampire video, which if you haven't, you should. But I've never really been super into them, but then after playing Baldur's Gate 3 this summer, I have wanted some new ones to play, and Bioware, God bless, have delivered. Dragon Age Veilguard is a pure, old-school fantasy RPG. Elves and dwarves, magic and swords, etc, etc. It is the 4th installment in the Dragon Age series, and it's kinda standalone and kind of a direct sequel to Inquisition, which I know sounds a bit weird, but I'll explain. And that game was received very well. So, does this one stack up? I'm going to start by talking about something perhaps a bit controversial. My biggest issue with this game is the character creator, not the visual part. In that regard, this game easily has one of the best character creators like ever. It's crazy. It's really cool seeing some of the cosplays people have cooked up on Reddit. It's incredibly in-depth. However, this whole background part is stupid. Your name is always Rook, and you always play the same character. You're a traditional, plucky, upstart adventurer type. You want to make some sort of edgy, intimidating criminal boss type? Well, too bad. Here are some quips. I chose the assassin Antivan Crow background because, yes, I have a fondness for edgy characters, sue me. I also chose the fighter because the Reaper subclass sounded really cool with that, so I thought I could make some sort of dark necromancer assassin kind of thing. But alas, I talk like a Marvel character, just constantly quipping and, smiling.
All right, we'll help. But in return, I want help killing some things.
I'll owe you.
I'm sure we'll owe each other before this is all over. Let's go.
I actually had to pivot my build to be more normal fightery, because I just couldn't take it seriously trying to roleplay a dark background. I digress. What does Rook actually do in the game? Well, the game starts in the most generic possible way for a fantasy adventure. A bar fight. You and your dwarf buddy Varric are looking for information on Nev, a mage/detective who supposedly knows the location of Solus, Varric's former adventuring buddy, and also ancient god. And, okay, there's a lot of talk around whether he is or is not a god, but since he's immortal, the most powerful mage ever, can control reality and talks to you in your dreams, I'll stick with the god label for now. Solus is supposedly trying to do some sort of ritual that will tear down the titular veil, which is some sort of metaphysical shield that protects the world from demons and separates it from the Fade, which is like, I don't know, bad or something.
That ritual is going to tear down the veil. The only thing separating us from the Fade and an endless number of demons. I have to talk him down.
Honestly, I'm a bit hazy on some of the definitions with, those, but fantasy. Demons bad, Solus summoning demons. We inevitably get to Solus and stop him right in the nick of time, though, oh my god, no we don't. We leave the bar just in time to watch the sky be cleaved asunder and a literal rain of demons begin. And okay, show don't tell. Excellent job, Dragon Age. This is awesome. I now know the stakes not because you told me Solus is bad, but because I just watched this guy get yeeted off a cliff by a giant demon. So with a brand new sense of urgency, we rush off to find Nev, who has been captured by some bad guys, except actually nope, he's fine.
Very hiding. Not the worst timing.
She just, like, pretended to get captured so she could get information or something. Nev tells us that Solus went into the statue, so we follow her there, and oh yeah, also Harding is here. And then in the statue, we find an alluvian, which is some kind of ancient elven portal. The ancient elven portal then takes us to an ancient elven forest, where, oh wow, oh man, that ritual is real, isn't it? This game looks really good, by the way. Even on, like, low settings on my potato PC, it looks really nice. So we go to confront Solus, or, well, Varric does.
All right, I'll take it from here.
Varric, Solus isn't gonna stop just because an old friend asks nicely.
Apparently they've got quite a history, and this is where I should probably mention that I have never played any of the previous Dragon Age games. There are several moments in this game where characters are introduced with all this dramatic fanfare, and my party members are like, wow, I can't believe you are here. So good to see you again. Geez, remember all those crazy adventures we went on? Good times.
I dare say it was a show of force.
Lady Morrigan?
'Tis simply Morrigan to you, Scout Harding. What a pleasure to see you again.
And it's very clear they're characters who were in previous games. But then in a nice bit of role-playing, Rook represents me, the player, by being like, should I know you? That being said, aside from some fanfare around the characters, the game as a whole makes complete sense if you haven't played the previous ones. It is its own story. There are lots of new characters, and it genuinely is doing its own thing. Rook only meets the returning characters after the events of Inquisition, so they have all the same questions that you do, basically. Anyway, Varric tries to talk Solus out of destroying the world, and Solus is all like, ugh, you wouldn't get it, Dad. I have to do this for reasons.
The veil is a wound inflicted upon this world. It must be healed.
By drowning the world in demons?
I have taken precautions to minimize the damage, Varric.
So the rest of us are like, talking's not working, so how about we drop a big statue on his head? Excellent plan. And then I have to choose, will I bring Nev or will I bring Harding? Will I choose the powerful ice mage / genius detective who makes a living investigating magic rituals, or will I choose the ginger with a bow? So anyway, me and Nev head off for the statue, and this is presented as some huge monumental decision, you know, who lives, who dies, will we succeed or fail, and it doesn't matter. The only thing that changes is like a couple lines of dialogue. So we go up to the statue, and magic be damned, we just push it over. Solus is like, oh no, and then just kind of casually force shoves it out of the way, but only after it destroys a bunch of other statues that were like conducting his ritual. Things start going all wonky, Solus stabs Varric, I get blasted into a wall, and then Solus gets sucked into the portal as two other mysterious figures emerged. And then I black out. While blacked out, Solus comes into your dreams and is like, what the heck, dude? Why'd you destroy my ritual? And Rook is like, because you're evil and we're trying to destroy the world. And then Solus is like, no, I wasn't trying to destroy the world. I was trying to destroy these ancient evil beings who live in the Fade.
I know what I did. I stopped you from destroying the world.
I was not destroying the world. The Evanurus, or as you would call them, the Elven Gods. The creatures that escaped. In ancient times, they ruled the elves, but that was not enough. They sought not just to be obeyed, but to be worshipped. Thanks to you, though, I am now trapped, and the blighted Elven Gods walk free.
Thanks to me. I wasn't the one performing a big ritual to free them.
Free them? My mortal enemies. I was ensuring that they would never escape their prison.
And why the fuck didn't you just say so? When he's talking to Varric earlier, he's being all coy and he's like, it's something I must do for the greater good. You wouldn't understand. And just tell us your plan, dude. When he actually explains it, it's kinda reasonable. We probably would have helped him. Now, this actually kinda makes sense with Solus, since he's kind of a weirdo and he's the god of like lies and deceit. However, it leads to my big issue with the writing in this game as a whole, which is that nobody communicates. I swear to God, every conversation is someone being like, Rook, you must stop the bad guys from doing this thing because it's bad. And instead of Rook being like, what are they doing and why is it bad? You're just like, okay. And you set off with a little idea of what you're meant to be doing or how it will help you achieve your overall goal. It's actually infuriating.
How can we help?
We need to find Belara Luther. She's the best there is at working with our ancient artifacts.
And also at blowing them up.
She was off looking for another artifact before this ritual shook everything loose. If anyone can get a handle on all this wild magic and the artifacts it's setting off, it'll be her.
Right. You get your friend back to your camp and... we'll find Belara.
The two beings who escaped from Solus's ritual are these other ancient elf gods who want to destroy / conquer the world, and now it is your job to figure out how to stop them. And this intro is the best part of the game. And not because the rest of the game is bad, but because I after thinking about it, I really think this is like one of the best intros to any game ever. It starts generic for the first like 5 minutes with the bar fight, but then it immediately rug pulls you with failing to stop Solus. It's big, it's visually awesome, it does a great job establishing Varric, Solus, and Nev, and also Harding is here. And then it rug pulls you again by revealing that Solus was the good guy, sort of, and it also sets up the main threat super well, because after going through all of this and witnessing how absurdly powerful Solus is, he is terrified by these dudes who just got released. Like, it's actually really good. So, I took a look at the Steam reviews for this game, as I often like to do before I buy a new game, and it seems like the common theme with them is good game, bad Dragon Age game, or maybe mediocre Dragon Age game. And I would like to reiterate that I have not played any of the other Dragon Age games, so I cannot judge this by whether or not it is a good Dragon Age game. I can only judge it based on its own merits. The two big things that I saw mentioned a lot were the lighter tone and the less tactical gameplay. As far as tone, yeah, this game is pretty goofy for the most part. It does actually get incredibly dark in a few places. Like there's this one mission early on where you visit this elf village that's gone dark and the whole place has been turned into this big horrifying blood ritual. It's like super grim and it feels like something straight out of Diablo 4. It's actually pretty awesome.
Something happened here. Stay sharp.
Milva! That's one of your fellow Veil Jumpers. Belara.
I didn't even realize until I was watching back the footage I recorded that you don't even fight anything in this whole mission. It does such a great job of building this like mysterious, horrifying atmosphere, I literally didn't notice. most of the game is not like that. It's pretty silly and jokey, and it's actually one of my favorite things about the game, is that it's like really bright and colorful. It's a nice change from 90% of games being really dark and desaturated and gray most of the time. As for the gameplay, I also can't really speak on how it compares to the previous games, but this is a pretty brain-off hack-and-slash RPG affair. It does break the trend of every other action RPG from the last decade, though, by not having a stamina bar, which is kind of fun. When fighting, you mash the light attack button, and then press dodge whenever your spidey senses kick in. Occasionally, there will be an enemy with a barrier, where you hit them with a range for a bit, and then mash light attack, or armored enemies, where you mash heavy attack for a bit, and then mash light attack. You can bring this party interface up, which freezes time and lets you direct your party members either to attack specific targets or use special abilities, and this is pretty useless for the most part. I played on adventure mode, which is like the, 3 out of 4 difficulty, you're hardened, and I'm pretty sure spending time pulling up this interface, selecting which abilities you want each party member to use, and then getting the goddamn targeter to actually select the enemy you want is actually a DPS loss compared to just spamming light attacks. I pretty much only ever used it during boss fights, and when the game was like, hey, don't forget about this thing. None of this is bad per se. It's pretty generic, but it gets the job done. The RPG mechanics are also kind of hardly worth mentioning. Gear is boring. Every slot has basically the same 2 numbers. If you find a piece with better numbers, equip it. Boom. The skill tree as well. I played a warrior, or fighter, or whatever it's called, and I pretty much never found an ability better than the drop kick you start with at level 1. Sure, there are abilities that do more damage, but a lot of them have these like big fancy wind-up animations, whereas the drop kick is almost instant and one-shots basically every small enemy in the whole game. Really, the only better one is the subscribe button. Clicking that will give you a 500% bonus to your entertainment score. Really, the main appeal of this game is the story, and I think it's quite good. A lot of the characters are pretty likable, if not super deep. The companions are kinda all over the place, but it is mostly possible to just pick whichever ones you actually like and then ignore the rest of them. There are a few missions that require specific members, but it's pretty rare, and thank goodness, because you will be spending an ungodly amount of time with them. And shout out to Balara. She's both best girl and has some actually surprisingly decent character development. She starts off as, generic bubbly inventor girl, but really gets kind of worn down as things move along.
What does that crystal do?
Keeps the artifact powered. Focuses the ambient magical energy. That's why these things still work, thousands of years later. Oh, no you don't.
The voice work can also be pretty hit or miss. Some of it's really excellent, like Balara or Matthew Mercer as the Viper.
They blighted a village in Arlethan, Demeter's Crossing.
There were venatory whispers about that place. Now we know why.
But then you have Lucanus, who sounds like someone doing a third-rate Antonio Banderas impression.
Well, there's one way, but we'd have to,
You'll have to kill me.
What did he do that for?
Throwing a tantrum when he doesn't get his way.
Fear me, if you dare.
As I said, though, the main story is actually pretty compelling. While it never changes from stop the gods, save the world, there are some twists and turns, and it's pretty mystery-based for at least the first good chunk of it. And I like that. I'm a sucker for a good mystery. Finally, I want to touch on the level design. I went into this game kind of assuming it would be open world, because, every AAA game is open world, especially RPGs, but it isn't. Rather, it has a few standalone areas. The design of these is visually very nice, and they're all really distinct, especially the ossuary, which looks super cool. It's an underground prison, except it's underwater, and the whole place looks like fantasy rapture. From a gameplay perspective, however, the level design is terrible. It's all cluttered, narrow hallways taking you from one combat arena to the next. Remember playing like Gears of War or any mid-2000 shooter, and you could always tell when the next fight was because you'd enter a huge room littered with chest-high walls? It's basically that. So, Dragon Age Veilguard. Is it a shit Dragon Age game? I couldn't tell you. What I can tell you is that on its own, it's pretty good. It's not some incredible masterpiece, but not every game has to be. This is a fun, cheesy action RPG that I had a good time with. I don't usually give numerical scores to games that I talk about, but this is like the epitome of a 7 out of 10 game. It's good, but not great. It doesn't do anything super unique or creative, but it's generally fun and has an interesting story to tell. So, I'd recommend it. Or, at least I feel like I got my money's worth from it. Anyway, that does it for me. If you've played the game already, let me know what you thought about it. And please subscribe to my channel. I would very much like to hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year. I know it's a bit of a long shot, but I believe. And if you've been enjoying these videos, you know, my RPG phase, as it were, I will have more similar videos coming soon. Did you do it? Did you subscribe? Alright, thanks man. I love you. Bye.